Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Home. You're probably aware that this is part of the Manchester International Festival, Lynch Fest, really, particularly due to Home. My name is Nigel. I'm very proud to be a trustee of the David Lynch Foundation here. You'll hear more about that later on. And I just want to say that if you looked around town, you'll see there are pictures of David almost everywhere on sort of lampposts, projected on skyscrapers. And the whole festival is a chance to see all of his films, whether it's Mulholland Drive or Blue Velvet or Twin Peaks, whatever, but also to see the first major exhibition of his artwork here in the UK, his visual art. And that really is down to a tremendous, wonderful, indomitable person who is the curator of this exhibition. Would you please put your hands together for the wonderful Sarah Perks? Where are you, Sarah? There she is. Thank you for bringing this here. I hear it's been breaking box office records. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. So, what's this all about? It's really a chance to hear about today. The theme is called The Power of Transcendental Meditation. And although there are a few questions that you'll get to ask David, we'll be linking with him in his California home in about 20 minutes' time. And we'll be talking to him and be telling him that the weather's better in Manchester, clearly, than in LA today. And there's many of you will be asking him questions about this, and particularly about something that's very dear to his heart, his foundation, which teaches transcendental meditation to the most stressed and at-risk populations in the world, whether that's street children in Colombia or Brazil, orphans in Thailand, abused women in Africa, PTSD sufferers, the homeless, but also here in the UK, but also to just ordinary people who want to have a more creative and stress-free life. And we got some great questions from the audience on creativity. Now, I read the blurb online about Home, and it was great. It says that Home is for curiosity seekers, people with a love of the dramatic, the digital, and the engaging, radicals and reciprocators. Is that you, Sarah? Was that what we want to say? That's why it's a fantastic space to have David Lynch talk here as very much a radical pioneer in the arts. And so we are going to talk for about 15, 20 minutes, show you a brief video, and then we'll link to David. So we've got some people, 3 people, who have fantastic personal experience of meditation and of David, but also of supporting the charity in its work. And I'm going to ask you to welcome in a minute up here for a brief discussion we're going to have. First of all, we have Deirdre Parsons. She's the Executive Director of the David Lynch Foundation here in the UK. Executive means she does stuff. She does an incredible amount of stuff in prisons, schools, with the homeless, and so on. And then we're going to hear from Dr. Elizabeth Young. Elizabeth is a GP in London. She's been doing meditation, TM, for about 35 years, and she often recommends it to her patients as a way of reducing stress and, of course, helping with mental health, which is a huge theme today, as we know. And finally, a local lad, Tim Burgess, lead singer, songwriter with the Charlatans, last seen wowing the crowds at Glastonbury. I understand David Beckham was keenly watching. And he's going to talk about his experiences meditating for a number of years and its effect on his creativity and performance. Would you please welcome, a warm home welcome to Deirdre, Elizabeth, and Tim. If you could come up, please, and we'll have a... There you go. Welcome. Right, it seems strange holding a microphone when you're sitting right next to me, Deirdre, but just so everyone can hear.
Well, just so everyone knows, I'm absolutely useless at talking into microphones because I'm always waving my hands around. So
yes, it's the Irish in you. Now, yeah. So just, Deirdre, David Lynch Foundation, yes. You're the director. What's that all about, and what kind of impact is it having at the moment?
Right, it's a fantastic question. David Lynch Foundation was set up really because it was the heartfelt wish of David himself to be able to spread the word or offer transcendental meditation initially to about, I think our goal was about 1 million children worldwide, which we've actually nearly achieved when we look at it over the last coming up for 15 years, because the foundation was set up in 2005 in the States and 2012 in the UK. And I think we look over it worldwide, we could say that, yes, we've almost reached out and taught that number of children, individual children, as well as mainly in schools offering our Quiet Time programme. So it was doing so well, and it still is doing so well in the school environment, that lots of other organisations approached us. For instance, homeless charities, rehabilitation organisations, even prisons, people from all walks of life, from having maybe even suffering from traumatic stress, came to us and said, well, look, if it's working with the children, would it work with our clients or the people that we're trying to help? And of course, what we did was we started to grow. We started to branch out and work with those people, people who are perhaps at risk or disadvantaged or vulnerable. That's usually our goal, the kinds of people that we like to work with as much as possible. And it really has shown to be helping them.
You got a film. You got a film to show about that.
I have.
Would you?
Yes.
Would you? You made yourself earlier. Would you?
Yes.
Should we show that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Here we go.
The idea of what you're doing, of putting this into schools, I think is a fabulous thing.
Before, I held everything in, and when I couldn't take it anymore, I took it out on somebody else. Now, it just goes away now.
I feel like all the stress is just leaving my body, all the situations, problems are just clearing out.
I got more concentration, I social better, everything just like 2 times better basically.
It took me roughly 5 years to admit that I had PTSD. Transcendental meditation has taken the stress out of my life. It has made me relax. The anger's gone.
Just because you can't see a wound doesn't mean it's not there. To know that something as small of a concept as 20 minutes twice a day can make me feel like I feel now, that's a gift that you can't buy.
Within 90 days, I was off all the anxiety pills, antidepressants, the pain medication. You don't have to suffer anymore. There's a better way.
I didn't know I had post-traumatic stress. The first experience meditating with him, my body got a chance to just really relax. And my self-esteem is a lot better than it's ever been in my entire life.
When I started meditating, it changed my demeanor. I really felt like it changed the dynamics for me, the way I responded or interacted with people. And also not sitting like this, sitting like this, because I got rest.
I went through a really dark time in my life where I didn't want to wake up in the morning at all. Now when I wake up in the morning, I feel happy, I feel blessed.
Meditation has significantly helped my recovery, and I think it should be taught in every rehab facility there is.
Transcendental meditation is the only proven form of meditation to reduce blood pressure. It affects the cortisol, the epinephrine. The whole system just relaxes.
When people start to meditate, they're doing things more effectively and more efficiently, and time seems to open up.
I meditate before every performance now, and I find that it keeps me out of my head. It's a much more enjoyable way to perform. TM has helped me to be more open to new possibilities.
I really have found that I am more aware of those stressful moments that are still going to happen even after meditation, but my reaction to them. I recognize them, and I just am at a peaceful state.
You have to give yourself a break. You have to give yourself a moment to revive, unplug, rejuvenate, and Transcendental Meditation does that for me.
I think this is what people need. They don't need high-minded talk so much as results.
real change for the good truly begins within.
Thanks very much. So Deirdre, that's people in the UK would say, well, that's all right around the world. That's America. But what about here? Can you tell us a little bit about one or two of the projects that you're running at the moment in the UK?
Well, you can see from that video that we work with people from all walks of life, because it really is transcendental meditation, a very simple, natural, effortless technique that's just practiced 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. It's so practical to do, it's so easy for people to fit into their lives because they actually start to see the rewards in their life. So we're finding it since 2012. It was a slow build up, sort of moving in, working with different sort of organisations and expanding. But we've actually got to this point now in the last year or so where we're working in schools in London with
teach the students and the teachers.
That's it. We start with the teachers. And they learn transcendental meditation. They become very familiar with the practice. And then we go in and we actually work with the children. And we call it quiet time. When we work in the school environment, we call it quiet time. And it just gives them that opportunity at the beginning of the day to practice their meditation. And sort of sometime in the afternoon, usually before they go home or as they come back after their lunch break to do meditation.
What's been the impact of that?
What the teachers have found and what they've been coming back to tell us is especially in the morning meditation, how it's really affected the child's learning ability, their listening, they're quieter, they're more settled. And it's wonderful because I've been in the classroom when they've been doing quiet time, and afterwards you can feel the settledness, the quietness that they feel inside. And then when the teacher begins their lesson, they're actually listening.
I'd like to come back to that a bit later, and even like you to take us behind bars and talk about the prison experience in a minute, Deirdre. But we've got Dr. Young here, Elizabeth Young, and there's fantastic anecdotal evidence, of course, from people who've learnt to meditate. But can you just tell us, for my sake, in layman's terms, a little bit of the science behind that subjective experience, Elizabeth? How does it work?
Well, you're right. There's been a lot of research done on TM. Research takes time and it's hard work, but research into TM is so easy because you can study the person before they learn, during the practice and afterwards. And you can study individuals, groups or populations.
And it's a great sort of stress buster, isn't it, to use sort of popular language?
Absolutely. The body and mind are trying to heal themselves all the time. We cut ourselves and we heal. But when we're stressed, we don't heal as effectively as we should. And by introducing the technique of TM, we enable the natural healing process of the body to work much more effectively.
And you recommend it to your patients?
Oh yes, I've been recommending it to patients for 35 years now.
Does it work for all of them? Does some come back and say, I'd rather have the pills?
Actually, not one.
No, I was going to ask that. So.
That's a really good question.
What about what happens to the brain? I think that's what's quite interesting, because here we're talking a lot with David shortly about creativity, expansion of the mind, and what happens. So what's different about TM and its effects on the brain from, say, just sitting there, relaxing, listening to Mozart, whatever?
Yeah, you're right. Brain scientists have looked at all sorts of things, including the EEG. They sort of put these stickers on people's head and measure their brain waves. And with TM, they see something that's not seen in other techniques. The alpha waves, which start at the back of the brain, spread throughout the brain, and instead of sort of going up and down doing their own thing, they do something called coherence, which is that they're all working in synchrony, and this is associated with improved creativity, reduced stress, reduced anxiety, better sleep.
Fantastic. Let's hear a bit more about that in a minute. But I just want to come also to Tim. Tim, you learnt to meditate quite a few years ago. How has that affected your creative and performing life?
Enormously, really. I learnt in 2008, and I'd kind of had a different kind of lifestyle before that. That involved.
I think you can tell us here.
Well, yeah, that involved drug taking and lots of drinking, and that was kind of the creativity kind of stopped really after a while. And I was looking for something else, and but I didn't know what. And a friend of mine actually spoke to me at a party that I had at my flat in London, and everyone else was going crazy, and I sat on my own in a corner, and my friend Amy came up to me and said, "Have you ever heard of Transcendental meditation?" And I had, because I was quite obsessed with the Beatles, and I'd seen, my favourite bit was always when they met the Maharishi, and their lives just like span into a new kind of form of creativity. And of course I'd heard of David Lynch because he was my favourite film director. So within 5 minutes I decided to go to learn TM, and since then,
was there any moment when you really thought, Tim, God, you were doubting, but you think, oh God, this is working?
Absolutely. It took me 3 days to learn, and on the way home, on the train home, there's just like a massive kind of clarity in vision, and I need glasses. I'm really short-sighted, but there's a huge clarity just looking out of the window. Everything just seemed brighter.
And has that stayed or developed, or is it just a one-off flash? Or?
No, it's stayed. I really enjoy it, and I've done it twice a day, every day since.
And how does that affect you when you're on stage? Because a lot of people, it's their nightmare to be standing up in front of a crowd of people performing. You're still going to be probably nervous. Has that had an effect or not?
Well, I think as far as it helping with creativity, I think it actually makes you feel braver in your decisions creatively too. And so when I go on stage, I know what I've done has been kind of the best I could have done it. And so I think braver is the...
Braver, that's a good word. I haven't heard that before. Thanks very much, Tim. And just a few more minutes of this. We cut Deirdre off when she was enthusing about the schools. And I don't know about you. When I go into schools, I think they're some of the most stressed places I ever go into. People just can't sit still. They're anxious, and that's just the teachers. The students are incredibly so. But anybody here been in prison? Sorry, anybody here been into a prison? It's what my wife does all the time. She's so I like to say she's in prison again, but she's visiting. It's one of the most stressed atmospheres. It's like a wall of stress that hits you, isn't it? And Deirdre, you've been teaching a lot of people here in prisons.
Yes, we have. A year ago, we were teaching in the north of England in a prison, and we've just been invited into another prison in the south of England, where we're going to be doing a research study as well, because now we like to, as Elizabeth was saying, research it's always good to have it. You can see from the kind of benefits, the evidence is there about, so it's not just anecdotal how the meditation is working. So we're backing up our claims about the benefits and showing how the prisoners feel from doing the project. So there'll be quite a few prisoners learning.
And I remember you told me about one person you taught a couple of hundred people in a high security prison, I think in the north of England, about how his reaction changed when someone kind of dissed him in the exercise ground or just walking past him.
Yeah, we see that quite a lot actually. There's always one person in a group that we've taught will always speak up and say that usually when they're confronted, they would hit back or shout back or react in some way. And they would then find that after doing TM, even in the first 4 days, the first few sessions of learning during the course, that they can actually walk away. There is something there, there's a change. And that's why we say change begins within, because it really does when you practice this type of meditation, because it's so effective. because of
Isn't
reducing
there a medical
stress.
sort of reason for Elizabeth? Is because it's to do with the frontal cortex? That's my layman's understanding, which is to do with decision making, moral reasoning, and perhaps just stopping and making that judgment.
Yes, there's been a lot of research done in prisons. You've got a captive audience if you're doing research. They're a good group to study.
I'm sure they'd be very pleased to hear that.
But showing reduced violence within the prison. There was a study recently of women prisoners who had post-traumatic stress disorder, and within 4 months their symptoms had completely gone, all of them. And longitudinal studies showing less recidivism. That means after they go home, they're less likely to end up back in prison.
And I think it's that sort of flashpoint that people get to, don't they? Like we can all get to that point when we're really, you can, and 5 minutes later you'd regret it. And I think you've just got that sort of pause in the nervous system, isn't it? Not just in the brain. It's
Yes.
actually in the whole body, isn't it?
The brain is healing. We all have the experience of, I hope, of waking up in the morning feeling refreshed and thinking more clearly, even if we've gone to bed feeling very tired. And TM is similar. You sit down, do your 20 minutes, and you feel alert and refreshed and make better decisions because the brain has been able to heal itself in that 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I think it makes you talk about being fresh and waking up in the morning. Tim, you had a great coffee, didn't you, that was helping the foundation in the park. Can you tell people what it was a brilliant name.
Oh, Tim Peaks.
Tim Peaks.
Yeah, we do it, me and my friend Nick do it at Kendall Calling, and the proceeds go to David Lynch Foundation.
David's a huge coffee fan, as you'll see. It's going to be early in the morning in LA in about 5 minutes, so we'll see whether the coffee has really kicked in. But I think one of you just used that phrase, which is a slogan, if you like, of David Lynch Foundation. And, it's possible to be quite sceptical about slogans. I certainly am. I work in the business world where you hear the most incredible. I saw someone's job title the other day, Director of Client Wow. I thought, this is just... How does he tell his family what he does at the end of a working day? Or Chief Joy Officer was another favourite I came across. But this slogan that we have, change begins within, actually really means something, doesn't it? Deirdre, what does it really mean? I'll put you on the spot to you.
Yeah, I mean, not just sort of on the biological level, which Elizabeth is talking about, but we see... most people meditate because they enjoy the experience of meditating during that meditation time. But what we're seeing with transcendental meditation is actually the rewards that people have after the meditation and how they're accumulative as well. So the change is naturally happening during the meditation, after the meditation, and people are seeing different benefits from all walks of life. So really what it's doing is it's helping you or an individual to unfold their full potential.
But does it always work?
Break cycles.
Does it always work, meditation?
I think yes. If somebody does it regularly, the maximum benefits have always been seen from people who do it regularly. As anybody knows who practices meditation, that's really when you feel that you can see yourself feeling better in life and life running more smoothly. But yes, there's no reason...
to do it.
Well, it's pleasant to do it. So it's a pleasant feeling during the meditation, so it's easy to do it.
Tim, you look like you've got some thoughts on that. The change begins within, or...
Yeah. I was just agreeing really with Deirdre, in a giddy way.
You always agree.
No, I don't always agree, but it's it definitely, everything. It kind of lives with you after doing it for a certain amount of time.
Do you have to believe in it?
I didn't particularly know at the beginning. Me personally, I didn't know whether I was gonna, believe in it or not. But it just is. It just works.
It just works, yeah.
That seems a good note on which to. Are we ready to link up with David in a minute? And Fraser here, who is in charge of all things, not to put him on the spot, he's brilliant, is going to turn around. While we just wait to connect to David, would you say a big thank you to our panel? We're all going to be behind in the bar on the ground floor afterwards. So if you want to continue the chat, do. But I'd like to say a huge thank you, please, to Deirdre, Elizabeth and Tim. Thanks very much indeed for all of your thoughts.
Thank you. Thanks.
Let's see how this works. Okay. Let's see if this is like 50 years after the moon landing, and we're just waiting with the same intense anticipation. David, are you there? That sounds like the sound of technology.
Can you hear me?
We hear you, David. Nigel Barlow here. Hear you loud and clear. Can't see you yet.
Okay, well, that's one part of it. Can you see me?
Not yet.
It's the second part.
The second part, yeah.
Working on it.
Okay.
Should we reconnect?
Fraser, reconnect? Is that a yes? Yes, they say can do, David.
We'll try it.
Thanks. Can we see your holiday snaps, Dave? Yeah. Hey, fantastic.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, but good morning for you, David.
It's good morning, and I do have my coffee, and I guess I'm ready to go.
That is fantastic. David, we're at this great new art gallery, Home, and the whole of Manchester seems to have pictures of you on skyscrapers, on lampposts. I've been out photographing them this morning, so...
Very beautiful.
That's what I thought. It was just fantastic. And David, we've got about 220 people here in the room at home. Some of them going to step up any minute and ask you some great questions about creativity, meditation, film, so on. But before we start, I understand you've been to Manchester last time in the 1990s. Was that a great trip?
I've been up to northern England looking for factories. I'm in love with the smokestack industry, and I came because I heard you all have you had at least the best factories in the world. Smoke and fire and giant, brick, cathedrals of work. And by the time I got there, they were tearing down a smokestack a week. And all I saw were cows happy in the fields.
Yeah, we're no good at factories anymore. But it was lovely you've been here, Dave. It's a vibrant city now, very much reviving a great art centre.
Great city. It's a very fantastic city.
It is. I'll just start with one question before we invite the first questioner up, David, which is just a basic one here. We've been talking about TM and so on our panel here. But why did you learn TM? Why did you learn it in the first place? And what sort of impact has it had on your creative artistic life? That's a big question.
When the Beatles went with Maharishi, I had zero interest in transcendental meditation or any kind of meditation. I thought meditation was a fad and that it would soon disappear. I thought it's fine for the Beatles if they want to do it. All I wanted to do was work. And then somewhere along in there, I heard a phrase, true happiness is not out there. True happiness lies within.
Mm-hmm.
And this phrase, as I say, had a ring of truth to it to me. And then I thought, wait a minute. Maybe this crazy thing of meditation is a way to go within and find that happiness. So I suddenly became what they call a seeker. I talked to everybody and anybody. I'd read things. I discovered there's many forms of meditation out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I looked into this one and that one. Nothing felt correct. But I felt that something would open that door to the within and I could find that happiness. One day my little sister called and said she'd started Transcendental meditation. She told me all about it. I liked everything she told me. And I heard in her voice more self-assuredness, more happiness came through her, and I said, that's what I want. And I went and got it.
Fantastic. David, I'm going to step aside here and I'm going to start introducing some of the great people in this audience who are really dying to speak with you.
Nigel, it was very good talking to you.
Lovely to talk to you again, David. And by the way, the weather's here is better today than in LA, I think I found. Very unusual. You think I'm joking. David, the first person I'd like to welcome is a lady, some few questions about creativity meditation here. It's a lady called Lindsay Hallam. She's going to come up and ask you a question. Lindsay. We'll give her some applause.
Hi, David. I can't believe this. I've been practicing TM for about a year now, and the main reason I decided to take up the practice was to deal with some anxiety, but also with creativity. And I think it's helped with the anxiety somewhat, but I still have that kind of negative inner voice that kind of tells me that my ideas are no good. So I was wondering how you've used TM to kind of get rid of that kind of nagging voice of kind of self-doubt and fear to kind of go ahead and develop your ideas.
I found out, I just told the story of my sister. I heard more self-assuredness in her voice. And this is something I guarantee will happen to you if you meditate regularly over time. You'll get this kind of inner strength, and you'll get to feeling more and more you. And ideas that come along to you that you love, you'll appreciate those ideas more. You'll see more within the ideas, and you'll see a way to translate those ideas to one medium or another. But you can't force things. So you just meditate regularly the way you were taught, and little by little, all these things will happen naturally. Each day gets better than the day before. It's really beautiful. Just keep on keeping on.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you, Lindsay. Chris Bulmer has a question as well. Where's Chris about creativity? Thanks, Chris. All right, off you go. Yes, Chris Bulmer.
Hi, David.
Hello.
So my question is, does creativity come directly from the meditation or as a result of a benefit of the daily meditation?
Okay, so with Transcendental meditation is a mental technique, an ancient form of meditation brought back for this time by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Transcendental meditation is like being given a little golden key that opens the door to the treasury within each one of us human beings. Every human being has a treasury within. It's called the transcendent In modern physics, it's a unified field. It's an ocean of pure, vibrant consciousness, being. It's the source, the reality, all these different names for this field within us all. And this consciousness has qualities within, and they're all positive. So within it, each one of us is unbounded intelligence, unbounded creativity, unbounded happiness, unbounded love, unbounded energy, unbounded power, unbounded peace. And every time a human being truly dives within and all the way within and transcends, they experience this field. And every time they experience, they infuse some of that. It's like going to the treasury, opening the door and taking some gold out. So every day, transcending that ball of consciousness, whatever size it was before you started this practice, begins to expand. And those all positive qualities of consciousness begin to expand. It stands to reason. Common sense would say if you dive into unbounded creativity and you bring some of that out each time, you're going to grow in creativity and in intelligence and in happiness. So it's the creativity is there, and we can get more of it. And it's so beautiful. You can go to the treasury every day with this technique, and it opens the door to that. And every time you experience it, you bring some out. Here you go.
It's been a great honour. Thank you.
David, briefly, Nigel again. Behind some of these questions is the thought, I suppose, do you get your ideas in meditation or in everyday life afterwards?
You meditate not to get ideas. You meditate to expand that container of consciousness. And like I said, those all positive qualities. Now, there's a side effect of expanding consciousness, and those all positive qualities. And if you watch TV, the word side effect is not very good most of the time. Here is a side effect of expanding consciousness. It's so beautiful. Negativity starts to recede. The more of that consciousness you have growing, negativity starts to recede more and more and more. So that's why you heard your panels talking about there goes stress more and more, traumatic stress, anxiety, tension, sorrow, sadness, depression, fear, need for revenge, bitter, selfish anger. All these things start to automatically go, just like darkness automatically goes when you ramp up the light. And it's so beautiful for the human being.
Fantastic, David. Thank you very much. Next, we have an artist, Andrew McGee, who has a question about creativity.
Beautiful. Andrew.
Hi, David. Hi.
Hey, Andrew.
I've got some notes just to remind myself. I'm an artist and a printmaker, and I've been meditating personally for some years. It's related really to what Nigel was just saying. I wondered, in your technique, when you're meditating, when you're transcending within meditation, how do you let the ideas arise and maintain focus on your meditation without getting caught up actually with the idea and getting taken away back into thought? Or do you allow them ideas to arise once the meditation has ended?
Okay, so that was part of the question before. So, okay, I guess John Lennon with Maharishi and Rishikesh in 1968, he said, Maharishi, sometimes I get these ideas in meditation. I'm down in there and ideas start coming. What should I do? And Maharishi said, okay, you're down in there and you get an idea that you love. Gently come out of meditation, write the idea down in such a way that you'll understand it when you come out, and then gently go back into meditation. But normally what happens is in meditation, which is a sublime experience, you come out refreshed, like you've heard, you come out ready to go, and it's ideas, you're easier to catch with that expanded, consciousness going. The ball of consciousness you see as it gets bigger, you can catch ideas at a deeper and deeper level. And you're literally making the subconscious conscious every time you expand that more and more and more. Enlightenment is all consciousness. So sometimes you get ideas in meditation and you could gently come out, write them down. But mostly my experience is they come outside of meditation.
Fantastic. That's great. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Next, David, we have Bex Phillips, who's going to ask a question that's related to TM and imagery in your films. Very interesting questions. Bex.
Hi, David.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I've been meditating since April, and I'm an indie filmmaker, and I have a question about your films. And it is TM directly represented in any of your film work through characters, storyline, or imagery, or does it purely act as an aid to your creativity? For example, one thing that's always in my head is Laura Palmer a metaphor for cosmic consciousness?
There's no, I don't believe really in, I believe in meditation, of course, but I don't believe in, message films. So there's no character or storyline really about meditation, but people have asked me this similar type of question. I say that probably Special Agent Dale Cooper is probably the closest thing to a TM meditator. And because he's got, one thing that grows is intuition. All knowingness is there within us all. And intuition, I say, is the number one tool for the artist or the businessman or the fisherman or whatever. So let's see, Laura Palmer. Well, Laura Palmer, bless her heart, is just someone that caught people in a big emotional way. She's has experienced in her life and after. So, but she's not a representation of cosmic consciousness. No.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great questions. In a minute, we've got a couple of people here who want to ask questions about restarting TM Day. But before that, Tim Burgess, with the Charlatans, great supporter of the founder. Tim wants to come up and ask you a question. Tim.
Bless his heart.
Hi, David. Good to see you again.
How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing great, thanks. I've written, I have a question in two halves, or what some people might call two questions. What's the single... What's the single best advantage that TM has brought to your life? And what's...
Happiness.
Great.
Happiness in the doing. So many of us work, but we don't really enjoy the work. Maybe we think we're working just for the goal of work, money, or something at the end of the road.
Yeah.
But the day-to-day work, we don't really enjoy that so much. And I found that this bubble of happiness that you can get growing by transcending every day makes you so much more happy in the doing of anything. You just get happy inside, feeling good in your body, get more energy for the work. Happiness is the thing that I found grows.
Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And the second part was, I just got it here on my phone. What's your favourite example of what you've called in the past happy accidents that we, the audience, have witnessed on screen in your work?
Well, the one I guess I use the most is character of Bob in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
I tell this story a bunch of times, but I was in the Laura Palmer house in Everett, Washington, state of Washington. I was on my hands and knees doing something on the rug underneath the fan, the hall fan between parents' bedroom and Laura Palmer's bedroom. And a man named Frank Silva was in Laura Palmer's room. He was the set dresser. He was moving some furniture around, but I was facing opposite him. I didn't see him, but I heard a girl say, "Frank, don't lock yourself in that room." Apparently, he had just moved a dresser in front of the doorway. Just hearing that, Frank locked in that room, put a picture in my head of Frank Silva in Laura Palmer's room. Something started happening, and I went running in and I said, "Frank, are you an actor?" And he said, "Why, yes, I am." Because pretty much everybody in Hollywood, so I said, "Okay, Frank, I don't know what, but you're gonna be in this next scene." And the next scene was just a gentle, slow panning shot across an empty, Laura Palmer's bedroom, which he had finished dressing. So the first couple of pan shots we did without him, just gently panning across the room. Then I said, "Okay, Frank, you get down and hold on to the base of the bed. Just look directly at the camera." Then we did a slow pan down and stop, and there was Frank. I had no idea what it was for, nothing. But that led to the character of Bob in Twin Peaks.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, David.
Take care, Tim.
Okay. And actually, I think while we're continuing the film theme, for one, we've got Mark Dawson has an interesting question, I think. Mark, are you here? Yep. Yes.
Hi, David.
Hey, Mark.
Nice to kind of meet you. You've mentioned before that one of your favourite films is The Wizard of Oz. There's a line in The Wizard of Oz, "There's no place like home." We're all at home now. You're at your home, and we're at a place called home in Manchester. And there was also a line in Twin Peaks, Fire Walk With Me, The Missing Pieces, where the line was, "You are here. Now there is no place to go but home." And I've been practicing Transcendental meditation for just over 2 months. I was taught by David Hughes, who I think is here in this room today. For me, the feeling of meditation is a lot like coming home. So what does coming home mean for you, and how important is that feeling to your creative process?
This is a very good, interesting question. And I think, that, we hear things out in the world. And one of the things I've heard is we are all sparks off the divine flame. For some reason, we go out and we get lost. And we have these experiences as human beings. And the ultimate thing is to find our way home. And this home is immortality, infinite happiness, total fulfillment, total liberation. The state they describe as more than the most. This is supreme enlightenment, coming home. So whether you believe it or not, it's a nice thing to think about home in that way, and that we're all traveling these roads to one day get back there. And so that's what it means to me.
And how does that affect your creativity?
Well, in another way, every time you transcend, you're experiencing that home.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't own the whole home, but you start owning more and more of it every time you transcend. It's like you're bringing the home into yourself. In fact, another name for the transcendent is the self with a capital S. Know thyself. This is the self they're talking about.
Yeah.
Every time you experience the home when transcending, as I said earlier, you get more creativity, more intelligence, more happiness, more love. It feeds not only your work, all avenues of your life. All avenues improve. They say transcending is a holistic experience. The full brain is engaged. Only experience in life they found on the EEG machine, the only experience they've seen that gives total brain coherence is transcending. It tells you how powerful this thing is. Other forms of meditation, they can give you benefits. They give you more relaxation. Even closing your eyes for 20 minutes, you get some benefit. This technique really and truly opens the door to the transcendent, and other forms of meditation don't. They've shown this in the research. So take this technique that truly gets you where you want to go and practice it regularly and watch things get really, really good.
Brilliant. David, thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks, David. And this might be your Mr. Motivator style here, because we have two people asking a question. I'm going to bring them both up. It's both about restarting TM. We've got Ian Corcoran and Paul Harding. If you don't mind both coming up and putting your questions.
No problem.
Yeah, come on, they go together.
Hi, David.
You're both the same person.
Seems so, yes.
We've never met, though.
Lovely to meet you, David.
Good to see you guys.
Do you want me to go?
Don't you go first?
Well, mine is, you've got to go back 40 years. So I'm 14, and I'm in a northern town, and the yogi that met the Beatles came on a northern tour of England. So I spent a weekend learning Transcendental meditation with him. And I remember handing the flowers at the end and getting the mantra. Sadly, all that's gone. But I was always my question is, I'm a failed TM person. But I have been getting very nostalgic recently. And it just, Mark's question previously has just made me think that maybe this nostalgia is about wanting to return home to something. And I'm wondering now about restarting. I'm now a granddad. I wonder what it would...
No problem.
Yeah.
You know, what you'll do is you'll go talk to Deidre after this event, and you'll get your meditation checked. And you'll get back on the path. And it's a very, very beautiful story. And so you just missed 40 years of expanding that ball of consciousness, champ. But it's never too late. Back going.
Thank you very much.
Hi, very similar question, David. What advice would you give to somebody, i.e. me, who has tried meditating a few times in the past? I have felt some positive benefits from it, but then I have regrettably never really motivated myself to keep going and experience any long-term benefits.
You learn the technique of transcendental meditation as taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Did you?
Oh no, just meditation as a general. I've never transcended. I don't know the difference.
Remember, I told you there's many, 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 many forms of meditation. You are going to go out and learn transcendental meditation.
For sure.
And you'll see the difference with the other thing that you tried right away. And then you can write me a letter and say, David, whoa.
I'd be honoured. Thank you so much, David.
Okay.
All of us.
That's a great one. David, I know that that was a wonderful answer, that people are always trained to say, what a great question, what a wonderful question. My definition of a wonderful question is, I don't really understand the question. This is the next one from Stephen Snoddy. It sounds interesting.
Hi, David.
Stephen.
Two of my favourite painters are Henry Matisse and Richard Diebenkorn, who of course lived and worked in LA, and they used the window as a motif in their work. And the question I'm about to ask you is as much about your film work as about your everyday life. And if that is an ironing board behind you, it reassures me somewhat to see that there's an ironing board at your home, is it?
This is an ironing board. And
Fabulous.
I've gotten, pan the camera. That's a sewing machine.
Well, the question I'm about to ask...
I'm very interested in sewing.
The question I'm about to ask actually is almost about your everyday life and also about the work that you make. Are you on the inside looking out or on the outside looking in?
I'm about 50-50. Sometimes I'm outside looking in, and sometimes I'm inside looking out.
A slight supplementary. So what happens in that moment when you're deciding between whether you're inside or outside?
It happens naturally. Sometimes I realize, wait, I'm watching myself, and sometimes I'm inside watching, out the window.
Yeah, I feel much the same. Thank you very much. Great question. And we have another one here from Lucy Beth Braun. Lucy Beth.
Hi, David. Hi. Some of the imagery that appears in your work is incredibly familiar to me, even when I see it for the first time. I live with complex PTSD as a result of multiple trauma, as well as some neurological conditions, including epilepsy. And this can trigger some really intense, vivid, and quite terrifying experiences. These images, sounds, and sensations seem to have a really different tone coming from your mind rather than mine. And do you think that your practice of transcendental meditation allows you to discover and approach these things in a safer state? And is it through this filter that you are able to take hold of them, then express them in your art in a clear and beautiful way?
This is a beautiful question, and I say absolutely. I always said, I like diners because they're well lit, they're usually very warm, and you can go off on a thought, a dark thought, and maybe get lost in a fearful or dark place, but you can always come back to the well-lit, warm diner. And transcendental meditation is a lot like that. You get a sort of a flak jacket. This happiness is kind of a flak jacket. And I always say, have the suffering on the screen, but not in your life. You need to understand the suffering, but you don't have to have the suffering to work. A lot of artists think anger is so important. I say righteous anger is great. Get motivated to get right or wrong. Be angry about the injustice or whatever. That's a different kind of thing. So negativity, they say, is the enemy to creativity. So you start expanding that ball of happiness, it's like a protection, and you can go to dark places, but you feel safe, just like what you were saying.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
You bet.
That was a great question. Oh, here's a nice short one, David. It's from Duncan. Duncan McDonald's. Duncan, are you here? No, Duncan's not here. What he would have asked... No, never mind. He is here. Duncan. We'll wait for him to find his way down here.
No problem.
Sorry, Duncan. We didn't want you to be left without the question. Here he comes. Duncan.
Hi.
Hey, Duncan.
I've forgotten the question, you have to say. Sorry, I didn't expect that. It was, sorry, it's a mad question, but... In the other place, do you see the eye of the duck or the bunny's ear? In the other place, do you see the eye of the duck?
In what place?
The other place that you can go to in your mind.
I see. Do I see the eye of the duck? In a weird way, yes. The transcendent is the eye of the duck.
Because it's that.
Transcendent is the eye of the duck. I should explain to the audience what you're talking about. I used to think about the duck, the shape of a duck and the texture of a duck. Oh, I saw the bill of the duck as a certain smooth texture, a certain shape, and a certain length. Then I saw the head come out, a beautiful little round shape, and going into an S-shaped neck, and then a large, fluffy, soft body, and now at the bottom of the body, little legs and feet that reminded me of the beak, the same kind of feel of the texture, and your eye goes back to the beak. So the duck was something like an example of nature that you could say follow in a painting, directing the eye. So then I thought, okay, you can't put then I thought, where is the eye, the best place for the eye? And nature, of course, has supplied it, but if you had the eye on the bill, it would be too busy, it would get lost. If you had the eye on the body, all this fluffy stuff, the eye would get lost. And the eye on the feet wouldn't be any good. But right in the center of that round head before the neck, it's like a little jewel. It shines. It's the perfect place for it. So I always thought that maybe you could look at some works of art or whatever and sort of see where the eye of the duck is.
Thank you. It's a beautiful thing.
Here's a more philosophical one, David, from Steph Hutchinson. Steph.
Hello, David. This is nice.
Hello.
So you said that with the meditation, you essentially fish for ideas. You know, in the unified field, you find these ideas. So that sort of gives me the impression that they're found things rather than created things. So with these ideas, how much of the artist is preserved when he finds those ideas? How much actually belong to the identity of the creator or what you find?
This is the greatest question. My analogy is the chef doesn't make the fish. The chef only cooks it, either in a good way or a bad way. And it's the same way with these ideas. They're like gifts. You don't know necessarily where they came from. They say you don't know an idea until it pops in the conscious mind. However big or small that is, you don't know it till it gets in the conscious mind. And that's why in the cartoons they say a light bulb goes off. Oh, I got an idea. But that idea, you didn't really make it. It's a gift. Now you can cook it one way or another. And you can say, okay, this is my fish now, but and I know I didn't make it. Now I can take it and if it's an idea for cinema, I can translate it to cinema. If it's an idea for a lithograph, I can translate it to there. That's how it works with me.
Thank you. I'm going to go cook some fish.
He's going to go home and cook some fish, he said, David, but creatively. We're really running nearly out of time. I don't know if we're going to get through all the questions. We've just got to... they're showing another one of your films in here shortly, David, afterwards. So we'd like to hear... It'll be great. We'd like to hear you all day and all night. And there's a great music show, tonight with Christabel and These New Puritans. I like what the lead singer from These New Puritans said in an interview. He said, when I met someone who liked Twin Peaks, I knew they were a person of impeccable taste. And that's an English... Which is an English way of saying truly awesome, David, but thank you. Okay, time for one more, I think, only. So I'm going to ask whoever among our people who've bothered to write a question in would love to come up and ask. Come on, whoever that... Yes, gentleman has waved. He's not shy. Sorry, this is...
It's John Lloyd. Yeah.
John Lloyd.
Hello, David. It's a pleasure. Can I get a round of applause for David for doing this for myself? This is all for you. It's a great honour. what I was thinking is that life sometimes moves at a very fast and rapid pace, and it can throw changes at people that can disrupt their ability to maintain a schedule and even control the environment which they can practice this TM meditation in. So I was wondering how important it is for you to control the environment that you meditate in, and how important is a routine to you?
For me, a routine is super important, but you can't always control a routine. So what I found is, though, I've been meditating now 46 years, and I've never missed a meditation morning and evening in the 46 years. Never missed one. So there's always time to get, at least 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. If you have a routine, it's easier. There's so many interruptions in life, it doesn't matter. We can always find a time for that, especially when you see the benefits coming. So it's money in the bank to meditate regularly and get a kind of a routine going that feels good, and knowing that it can be interrupted, a zillion different ways as we go along. And I say the events of our life may stay the same whether we meditate or not. If you meditate, as you go through the events, the lows won't be so low, and the highs you'll enjoy even more. So get this technique, meditate regularly, and let a smile be your umbrella.
Thank you very much, David.
So, David, I have a new boss here today, Fraser, who's put this show on brilliantly. Fraser, how long have we got? 5 minutes? 6 minutes. Okay. Whoa. This is tough stuff. Well, they want to show you a movie on time, David. So we got perhaps one we can. Michael Mulligan.
What film are they showing now?
Fraser, what are they showing today? It's a documentary, The Art Life.
The Art Life.
Do you recommend it?
No, I love The Art Life is The Good Life.
You certainly made it that way, David. Go on, Michael. Question.
Hi, David.
How you doing?
Good, thank you. I just wondered, from your TV work or movies, what would you say is the purest translation or representation of ideas and imagery that's come to you via transcendental meditation?
A TV or movies, you're saying?
Yeah, which one is the most representative of ideas that will come for you via TM?
Except Dune. Didn't have Final Cut in Dune. The filmmaker needs total artistic freedom, total, control, and Final Cut. And I always say, a painter painting away in his studio, no one comes in and says, change that blue, don't take that part out and put in something else. I don't like this thing. It's the same and should be the same in cinema. If you give somebody, a chance to make their film, you should support them and let them make the final decisions. And so it's their film. Why anyone would go make a film if they didn't have artistic control and Final Cut, I don't know. But that's just so important. So what you said is, I say all of them are as close to the idea as possible, the ideas that came to me, that thrilled me, that I wanted to translate.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
So we had a couple more questions. Maybe we'll take them briefly in the panel when they're gone. David, thank you so much for entertaining, enlightening, exciting us today with insight, humour, wit. It's just been absolutely great. I hope you've enjoyed it too.
Nigel, thank you very much for your good work, and thank you all for being here today. And you look like a great group, great Manchester group. It's a pleasure for me to be with you all.
Thank you so much, David. Wonderful. Thank you, David. Wonderful. In the last minute, I just want to ask our panelists up for 1 minute, please. Deirdre, Tim, Elizabeth. You can't just sit in the audience and enjoy it. One last thing to say. We'll, by the way, be in the bar downstairs afterwards. There was a very good question, couple of good questions. I'm sorry, come up and ask us. One was about how we make TM available for low-income people. Well, we do. And all of the projects that we run, nobody pays anything. We, people like me, fund it. People like Tim, other people, we fund it. That's what we do. And sorry if we didn't get through nearly. They were great questions, weren't they? Yeah, well done to you. Fantastic. I'm just going to ask our panelists to say one thing, if you forget everything else you've heard this afternoon, one thing that struck you today and you'd like to leave people thinking of. Deirdre.
God, that's a really open-ended question. Just please, as Nigel said, we're here this evening, so do please come and ask us if you want to know anything about the foundation and the work that we're doing, or if you're interested in supporting it. We're actually going to be hopefully doing a project with LifeShare. I think somebody's here from LifeShare today in the audience. Yes, I can't see them now, but so hopefully we'll be doing something with them, and obviously we're doing things all around the country, and we want to expand.
Great, Deirdre. Thanks very much. Elizabeth, what have you got to leave us with?
Well, the thing that struck me with the film was the eyes of the people that were talking on the film. I don't know if you thought it too, that it just said it all. Change comes from within. And I'd like to thank everyone here for the opportunity to come and meet you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Tim, what have you got to say?
Well, obviously, TM's a very cool thing to do.
Yeah. He can say that, I can't. It's more convincing from Tim. That's absolutely wonderful. I'd like to thank again Sarah and Fraser and all their incredibly professional team, Dave, for putting this on today. I'd like to thank all of you for coming. The art exhibition downstairs is absolutely great. Even if you're at the next movie, you have to go out for a few minutes because they can clear all your pop. I don't know what they do, clear all popcorn. They clear the room or whatever, and you'll be welcome back in again. We're delighted that you've all come and hope it's been a great afternoon for you. It certainly has for me. Wonderful. Thank you very much for coming. All the best.